Karoti Vachana Angulangaya Teganim Yatkipata Mahanmande Sigurd Nithaina Paramahananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Swami. So I mentioned earlier.
I mentioned earlier
When I gave my Bhagavatam class,
when I gave my Bhagavatam class,
how what Krishna had predicted in the Puranas,
what Lord Krishna had predicted in the Puranas,
the Brahma Vaivarta Puran,
the Brahma Vaivarta Puran,
that after 5,000 years,
that after 5,000 years,
he would send a devotee
he would send a devotee
who would spread the Harinam all over the planet.
who would spread the Harinam all over the planet.
And then about 450 years ago,
And then about 450 years ago,
in the Chaitanya Mongol,
in the Chaitanya Mongol,
it was mentioned how Lord Chaitanya had said that he only preached in the Indian subcontinent.
it was mentioned how Lord Chaitanya said that he would only preach in the Indian subcontinent,
But the rest of the world,
but the rest of the world,
he would send his commanding general devotee
he would send his commanding general devotee
who would reach all the parts of the world.
who would reach all parts of the world.
About 300 years ago,
About 300 years ago,
the 10th descendant of Advaita Goswami,
the 10th descendant of Advaita Gosai,
he known as Vijay Krishna Goswami,
he's known as Vijay Krishna Goswami.
he predicted that the world would become Mridangamoy.
He predicted that the world would become Mridangamoy,
That someone would spread the Mridanga sound all over the world.
that someone would spread the Mridanga sound all over the world.
And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur,
And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur,
he said that a devotee will come who easily travel from one continent to another.
he said that a devotee will come who would easily travel from one continent to another.
That was the 1800s.
That was the 1800s.
There were no planes,
There were no planes,
and travel easily from one continent to another was something inconceivable.
and to travel easily from one continent to another was something inconceivable.
And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur,
Then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur,
he once told his devotees
he once told his devotees,
after the Navadip Parikrama,
after the Navadip Parikrama,
that one of my disciples
that one of my disciples
will go to the west
will go to the west
and bring devotees from all over the world,
and bring devotees from all over the world
participate in the Navadip Parikrama.
participate in the Navadip Parikrama.
This will not happen in my lifetime.
This will not happen in my
But
lifetime,
it will happen.
but it will.
It will happen.
It will happen.
And he wrote to Prabhupada
Then he wrote to Prabhupada
that you have to spread this Krishna consciousness in the Western world.
that you have to spread this Krishna consciousness in the Western world.
And he said this will give you a great spiritual benefit.
And he said this will give you great spiritual benefit.
Not only that, but those who help you.
Not only that, but those who help you.
So, how many of you want to help Srila Prabhupada?
So how many of you want to help Srila Prabhupada?
And then with that background,
With that background,
because we didn't know that when Prabhupada was with us.
we didn't know that when Prabhupada was with us.
We knew he was something special, but
We knew he was something special, but
that he was predicted in these in the Puranas,
that he was predicted in the Puranas,
that he was predicted by Chaitanya Mangal, which was in Bengali and not accessible to us.
but that he was predicted in the Chaitanya Mangal, which was in Bengali but not accessible to us.
That we didn't know.
We didn't know.
Some of the quotes of Jayapataka became revealed to us.
Some of the quotes of Bhaktivinoda Thakur became revealed to us,
And I heard that someone read one of those quotes to Srila Prabhupada.
and I heard that someone read one of those quotes to Srila Prabhupada,
How Europe, America, Russia, various parts of the world would be chanting Hare Krishna.
how Europe, America, Russia, various parts of the world would be chanting Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada just commented, maybe they're talking about me,
Prabhupada just commented, maybe they're talking about me.
and changed the subject.
Then he changed the subject.
So I heard when I was here in New Dwarka,
So I heard when I was here in New Dwarka,
a few years ago I was here for 6-7 months,
a few years ago I was here for 6-7 months,
taking some therapy.
taking some therapy.
And I was told that the small deities,
And I was told that the small deities,
that's Dwarkanath,
that's Dwarkanath,
Dwarkanath,
Rukmini Dwarkanath,
they had told Prabhupada
they had told Prabhupada
that he should preach also in India,
that he should preach also in India,
because initially he would always say that I have to preach in the West.
because initially he would always say that I have to preach in the West.
That's my mandate, that's my Guru Datta Desh.
That's my mandate, that's my Guru Datta Desh.
And even his making Vrindavan and Mayapur was for the Western devotees.
And even his making of Vrindavan and Mayapur was for the Western devotees.
But now he also had the mandate to start something in India.
But now he also had the mandate to start something in India.
So then he opened up branches in Hyderabad, Bombay,
Then he opened up branches in Hyderabad, Bombay,
Delhi,
Delhi,
and various other places.
and various other places.
So when I was visiting New Dwarka during Prabhupada's time,
So when I was visiting New Dwarka during Prabhupada's time,
I was that time in Canada,
I was at that time in Canada,
and he called me. He said he wanted me to go to India.
and he called me and he said he wanted me to go to India.
So I came here,
So I came here
and I bowed down to Prabhupada, I reported.
and I bowed down to Prabhupada and reported.
And then he got a letter from Chutananda
And then he got a letter from Achyutananda
saying that he had not yet found a place separate from Gaudiya.
saying that he had not yet found a place separate from Gaudiya Math.
So then he said he was not sending me at that time.
So he said he was not sending me at that time.
But as soon as he got news that he had a separate place, he would send me.
But as soon as he got news that he had a separate place, he would send me.
So that I was a couple of months, I think, in LA.
So at that time, I was a couple of months, I think, in LA.
And he had us, had devotees, submit our weekly report to the small deities.
So we had us devotees submit our weekly report to the small deities.
He would have the deities come out, and then we would tell the deities what we had done for them during the week.
He would have the deities come out, and then we would tell the deities what we did during the week.
And each devotee would go before the deity of Rukmini Dwarkanath.
And each devotee would go before the deity of Rukmini Dwarkanath.
And while Kirtan was going on,
While Kirtan was going on,
they would tell
they would sit down there.
they would tell their report.
They would tell their report.
So this was a very personal exchange with the deities.
So this was a very personal exchange with the deities.
And Later on, I started this same system in Mayapur.
Later on, I started the same system in Mayapur.
They don't continue it now,
They don't continue it now,
except the GDC some years does once a year report.
except the GBC during some years does a once a year report.
But we used to have every month a DD report.
But we used to have every month a DD report.
So Prabhupada would tell us how the DDs were people, and we should be very careful how we deal with them.
So Prabhupada would tell us how the DDs are people and how we should be very careful when dealing with them.
So I heard when he bowed down
So I heard many bowed down,
and he was offering prayers.
and he was offering prayers.
Some devotee came up and asked him,
Some devotee came up and asked him,
"What are you praying for?"
"What are you praying for?"
Which is not really our right.
Because it's not really right,
Our right.
our right.
Then he answered down. He looked
Then he looked,
and he replied,
and he replied,
"I'm praying that I don't fall down."
"I'm praying that I don't fall down."
And I took that as a lesson for us,
I took that as a lesson for us,
because it was inconceivable that Prabhupada would fall down.
because it was inconceivable that Prabhupada would fall down.
But for ourselves,
But for ourselves,
certainly we had to pray in this humble way.
certainly we had to pray in this humble way.
Somehow, Prabhupada was very expert
Somehow Prabhupada was very expert
in everything he did.
at everything he did.
We heard from Yogeshwara
We heard from Yogeshwar
how he was challenged by the deprogrammers in the court system.
how he was challenged by the deprogrammers in the court system.
And that was very interesting,
That was very interesting,
because how he was leading the charge
because how he was leading the charge
against this opposition,
against this opposition,
and how he submitted all the books, how he had submitted all the books,
and how he had submitted all the books
and had them read the books.
and had them read the books.
Then the Supreme Court declared it as a bona fide religion.
And then the Supreme Court declared it as a bona fide religion.
We just thought, like in Mayapur, he came 2 months a year,
We saw in Mayapur he came 2 months a year, twice.
And then at the Gaur Purnima time, about 2 to 3 weeks,
At the Gaur Purnima time, 2 to 3 weeks,
and sometimes before, after the Kartik month, for 5 to 6 weeks.
and somewhere before or after the Kartik month for 5 to 6 weeks.
And there's a month before Kartik
And this month before Kartik,
called Bhadra.
called Bhadra,
It's 2 months before Kartik.
it's 2 months before Kartik,
And they call that in Bengal as Pocha Bhadra.
and they called it in Bengali as Pocha Bapa,
Pocha Bhadra.
Pocha Bhadra.
That means rotten Bhadra.
That means rotten Bhadra.
Because after the rainy season, everything is waterlogged.
Because after the rainy season, everything is waterlogged.
And so the sun dries out that water,
So the sun dries up that water,
and some of the grass and things are rotten.
and some of the grass and things are rotten.
So while the sun would dry them out,
So while the sun would dry them out,
it would stink,
it would stink,
and lots of insects would come up.
and lots of insects would come up.
There was one lying on the second floor,
There was one lying on the second floor,
and thousands of bugs were flying around it.
and thousands of bugs were flying around it.
Prabhupada was watching,
Prabhupada was watching,
and then whatever Prabhupada did,
Whatever Prabhupada did,
we would also do.
we would also do.
What's he looking at?
What's he looking at?
Bugs.
Bugs.
Like, and they're looking, he's looking,
And keep looking,
and we're looking,
and we're looking,
wondering, what's he seeing?
and wondering what's to see.
Bunch of bugs flying around the
A
light.
bunch of bugs flying around in the air.
They turned to us and said,
Then he turned to us and said,
in your airports you have computers, radar,
in your airports you have computers, radar,
flight regulators.
flight regulators.
Still there's accidents.
Still there are accidents.
There are thousands of bugs
Here are 1,000 bugs
flying around.
flying around.
I don't see one accident.
I don't see one accident.
No radar, no computer.
No radar, no computer.
Then he was once walking on the roof of the Lotus building.
Then he was once walking on the roof of the Lotus building.
There was a migration of ants.
There was a migration of ants.
One big queen ant,
One big queen ant,
many worker ants
many worker ants
carrying eggs,
carrying eggs,
going from this place to that place.
going from this place to that place.
We're all looking down.
We're all looking down
Because Prabhupada was looking down.
because Prabhupada was looking down.
Ants
Ants.
are walking.
They're walking.
Why is Prabhupada watching?
Prabhupada was watching.
Why?
Why Prabhupada was watching?
He turned to us and said,
Then he turned to us and said,
just as we are looking down on the ants and thinking they are so insignificant,
just as you're looking down at the ants and thinking they're so insignificant,
there are higher entities
there are higher entities
in the higher planets
in the higher planets.
are looking down at the human beings,
They're looking down at the human beings
thinking
and thinking,
how insignificant.
how insignificant.
So every moment with Prabhupada was something very interesting.
So every moment with Prabhupada was something very interesting.
Full moon,
Full moon,
they used to comment,
he would make some comment.
how do they say they went to the moon?
How did they say they went to the moon?
They only brought back some dust and dark
They only brought back some dust and dark.
stones. See how brilliant the light is coming from the moon.
See how brilliant the light is coming from the moon.
How could they have gone?
How could they have gone?
I would say, don't just believe all the things you read.
He would say, don't just believe all the things you read.
There's a story by Bhakti Siddhanta where he would story how Das Chakra Bhagavan Bhut.
There is a story by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Dash Chakra Bhagavan Bhut.
The connivance of 10 people turned Bhagavan into a ghost.
The connivance of 10 people turned Bhagavan into a ghost.
You know that story?
You know that story?
So there was a Pandit
There was a Pandit
called Bhagavan Pandit.
called Bhagavan Pandit.
He was the friend of the king. Friend.
He was the friend of the king.
And he would always advise the king what's a good idea, what's a bad idea.
He would always advise the king what's a good idea, what's a bad idea.
The ministers got together
They got together
and said, as long as this Bhagavan Pandit is around,
and said, as long as this Bhagavan Pandit is around,
we can't cheat the king.
we can't cheat the king.
We can't make any money.
We can't make any money.
So let's get rid of him.
So let's get rid of him.
So they told the guards,
So they told
don't let Bhagavan in.
They told the guards, don't let Bhagavan in.
King's orders.
Take his orders.
King's orders.
The king's orders.
Because the king would tell the ministers, and ministers would tell others.
Because if the king would tell the ministers would tell
Others.
others.
So Bhagavan came up.
So Bhagavan came up.
He was stopped at the door.
He was stopping at the door.
Stopped at the door by the
Stopped
guards.
at the door by the guards.
I'm not allowed in.
You're not allowed in.
I'm a friend of the king.
I'm a friend of the king.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Orders.
Orders.
I'm not allowed in.
You're not allowed.
The king asked, where's my friend Bhagavan?
So the king asked, where's my friend Bhagavan?
And some ministers thought, well, so you know how it is. Sudden heart attack, died.
So the minister said, oh, you know, nowadays he had a sudden heart attack and died.
Just yesterday was perfect health.
He was just here yesterday with perfect health.
He called his royal physicians.
He called his royal physicians.
I want you to check.
I want you to check.
What happened to Bhagavan?
What happened to Bhagavan?
So then the ministers took the physicians aside.
So then the ministers took the physicians aside.
And tell the king that Bhagavan's dead, he gets 5,000 gold coins.
Tell the king that Bhagavan is dead and you'll get 5,000 gold coins.
If you tell him it's alive,
If you tell him he's alive,
he'll be dead.
you'll be dead.
That's your choice.
What's your choice?
How much?
How much?
5,000.
5,000.
Okay.
Okay.
So they told the king that said Bhagavan suddenly died.
So they told the king, it's sad, Bhagavan died.
Okay, ministers send us some pension to the wife,
Okay, ministers send some pension to the wife,
to the widow.
to the widow.
So then once a year the king would go throughout the town and see all the citizens.
So the king would go out to town and see the citizens.
So Bhagavan Pandit knew where he would go.
So Bhagavan Pandit knew where he would go.
So he tried to get through, but the guards were trained to keep him away.
So he tried to get through, but the guards were trained to keep him away.
And he climbed up a tree
Then he climbed up a tree
and he said, Maharaj, Maharaj!
and he said, Maharaj, Maharaj.
And the ministers took the king to see the ghost of Bhagavan back.
And the ministers told the king, the ghost of Bhagavan is back.
Let's go the other way.
Let's go some other way.
That's how the strategy or was it, the connivance of 10 people turned Bhagavan into a ghost.
So that's how the strategies or connivance of 10 people turned Bhagavan into a ghost.
So some things are told in the newspaper,
Some things are told in the newspaper,
everyone believes,
everyone believes.
but it's actually not true.
It's actually not true.
So Bhaktisiddhanta trained us to his disciples, and Prabhupada trained us.
So Bhaktisiddhanta trained his disciples and Prabhupada trained us.
We should not just take anything for granted.
That we should not just take anything for granted.
That could be a false story.
That could be a false story.
So I wrote a song
So I wrote a song
that what if Prabhupada had come?
that what if Prabhupada hadn't come?
Who would have taught us
Who would have taught us
Krishna consciousness?
Krishna consciousness?
Who would have taught us the Harinam?
Who would have taught us the Harinam?
So I'd like them to sing that song.
So I'd like them to sing that song.
And I hope that this will be useful for you
And I hope that this will be useful for you
in your special days of Prabhupada.
in your special days of Prabhupada.
I wrote 2 other songs, but this is the first.
This is the first. I wrote 2 other songs.
You can sing along. I think everybody has a...
Everybody has a copy?
যদি প্রভুপাদ না হয়তো তবে কি হয়তো এ জীবন বহিত কিসে যদি প্রভু যদি প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বহিত কিসে নিতাই গোরেরা অপার করুণা কে দিত সকল দিশে কে দিত সকল দিশে প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বহিত কিসে পশ্চাতের জাত পাপি দুর্চারী শূন্যবাদী মায়াবাদী পশ্চাতের জাত পাপি দুর্চারী শূন্যবাদী মায়াবাদী তাদের উদ্ধার করিবার মানা হেন কোন দয়ানিধি হেন কোন দয়ানিধি যদি প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বহিত কিসে তাদের নিখাতে কোন জন আসি দিলে তো হরিনাম তাদের নিকাতে কোন জন আসি দিলে তো হরিনাম শব্দ জীব রূপে গদিতে তাদেরা কে হইতো আগুয়ান কে হইতো আগুয়ান যদি প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বহিত কিসে দেশে দেশে হরি বিগ্রহ সেবা আরতি রাত্রি দিনে দেশে দেশে হরি বিগ্রহ সেবা আরতি রাত্রি দিনে রাত্রা যাত্রাদি মহোৎসব শোভ শিকে তো কোন জানে শিকে তো কোন জানে যদি প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বহিত কিসে গীতা ভাগবতা চৈতন্য চরিতা প্রেমামৃত রস সারো গীতা ভগবতা চৈতন্য চরিতা প্রেমামৃত রসসার কালনা সুন্দর সরল করিয়া কে বুঝে তারা কে বুঝে তারা যদি প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বাহিত কিসে কত কষ্ট সহি প্রীতমন রাহি কে বদিত হরিনাম কত কষ্ট সহি প্রীতমন রাহি কে বদিত হরিনাম কে দিত মোদেরা পুরী বৃন্দাবন মায়াপুর মতধাম মায়াপুর মতধাম যদি প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বাহিত কিসে পরম মঙ্গল শ্রী চৈতন্য মহাপ্রভুর শিখদানা পরম মঙ্গল শ্রী চৈতন্য মহাপ্রভুর শিখদানা আচারে প্রচারে শোধ আমাদের কে করিত নিয়োজন কে করিত নিয়োজন যদি প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বাহিত কিসে প্রেম কল্পতরু নিতাই গৌরেরা কৃপা কোন লোভি ভারে প্রেম কল্পতরু নিতাই গৌরেরা কৃপা কোন লোভি ভারে নিরবাদি জয়পতাকা হৃদয়ে তোমারে শরণা করে তোমারে শরণা করে যদি প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বাহিত কিসে নিতাই গৌরেরা অপার করুণা কে দিত সকল দিশে কে দিত সকল দিশে যদি প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বাহিত কিসে যদি প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বাহিত কিসে যদি প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বাহিত কিসে যদি প্রভুপাদ না হইতো তবে কি হইতো এ জীবন বাহিত কিসে
someone read the translation.
Maybe someone can read the translation.
If Srila Prabhupada had not come, what would have happened? How could have we passed our lives? Who else would have distributed the unlimited mercy of Lord Nityananda and Lord Gauranga all over the world? Which other compassionate person would have endeavored to deliver the miscreants, sinful, impersonalistic, and voidistic people in the West? Who else would have come to distribute Harinam to them? Who else would have come forward to transform them into civilized beings? Who else would have taught them how to worship the deity form of Lord Hari, day and night with Arti Kirtan, and how to conduct the Ratra Yatra and other grand festivals? Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita contain the essence of the nectarian mellows of love of Godhead. Who else would have explained these scriptures so clearly and beautifully? Who else would have tolerated all difficulties and distributed Harinam with a pleasant heart? Who would have given us the dhams such as Mayapur, Vrindavan, and Jagannath Puri? The teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu constitute the greatest and most auspicious treasure. Who else would have engaged us in constantly practicing and preaching it? Sri Sri Nitai Gora, our desired trees of love of Godhead, desiring a drop of their mercy, Jayapataka's heart incessantly takes shelter of your divine grace.
So, I was told how our dear God brother Brahmananda
I was told by my dear godbrother Brahmananda
that how in 1967
that how in 1967
Prabhupada had a stroke
Prabhupada had a stroke
and he was frozen, paralyzed from the neck down.
and he was frozen, paralyzed from the neck down.
And he said that he didn't want to stay in the hospital.
But he said that he did not want to stay in the hospital.
So Brahmananda took him out the front door.
So Brahmananda took him out the front door.
The doctors yelled, "You're gonna kill him! You're gonna kill him!"
With doctors yelling, "You're going to kill him! You're going to kill him!"
He just gone.
He just said, "Go on."
So they took him back to the 26th Second Avenue.
So they took him back to 26 Second Avenue.
There, they took care of Prabhupada.
There they took care of Prabhupada.
But as I said, his body was initially paralyzed.
They said his body was initially paralyzed,
But he kept preaching nonstop.
but he kept preaching non-stop.
And he told the devotees how they should practice, what they should do.
And he told the devotees how they should practice and what they should do.
They're giving him his, sponge baths and
They were giving him sponge baths,
feeding him prasadam.
feeding him prasadam.
I was just thinking, when I joined in '68,
I was just thinking that I joined in 68,
I didn't see this.
so I didn't see this.
But how much sacrifice Prabhupada did,
But how much sacrifice Prabhupada did,
how determined he was to spread Krishna consciousness,
how determined he was to spread Krishna consciousness,
carry out the order of his guru,
to carry out the order of his guru,
that being paralyzed and neck down,
that being paralyzed from the neck down,
still he was preaching.
still he was preaching.
The head was working.
The head was working.
So it's all about key.
And His Holiness Jayapataka Swami took a page from that chapter and carries on making more devotees. His Holiness Jayapataka Swami ki! We have a very short time. Siddhanta Prabhu has a presentation that's going to be